Hey, what's up, family? I'm Rachel.
And I'm Joe.
And we are
Two Crazy Ketos. Today we're going to talk about stalling for weight loss when you're on the keto diet.
And we'll do it
Right
after
after
this.
So today we're going to talk about weight loss plateaus on the keto diet. You know, everybody goes through it. I know you went through it.
It's super frustrating.
Yeah. So on keto, everybody hits it, and there's a lot of different causes for it. So we want to talk about a little bit like what you can do, what's causing it, and some of the things you might want to consider changing so that you can get out of your stall.
Because we don't want you to just totally give up. And that's where some people, if they have a plateau for too long, they just give up.
Yeah.
They go back to their bad eating
And
habits.
you actually did that. Like the first
did.
time you did keto, you weren't seeing the scale move. And so you decided I'm not doing keto anymore.
So I went off of it, and then I did get to see the scale move.
Yeah.
In the
wrong direction.
I did not want it to go in. So I don't want other people to experience the same thing I went through if we can avoid it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So before we even talk about a weight loss stall or plateau, we should probably determine are you even in a stall?
Yes, because I definitely thought in the past I was in a weight loss stall because I didn't see anything moving on the scale. And yet there were things happening size-wise.
Right.
I was losing sizes without losing pounds on the scale. And so, things were happening. I was still experiencing loss of fat, but it didn't happen the way I thought. And so I was getting frustrated, and I had no need to get frustrated.
Which is why we always say, toss out the scale. The scale is your enemy. And it's not just your enemy on, the keto diet. It's your enemy on any diet. I mean, because what happens to people who are even in a standard diet, like Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig or Slim Fast or just lowering calories, you get on the scale, you weigh yourself, and then, 2 weeks later, you're like, ooh, I'm down 5 pounds.
Yeah.
So you have a cheat day because you're like, I'm going to reward myself.
Oh,
And then it goes up a little bit, then it goes down, and then you end up with this yo-yo back and forth. Because remember, just like on the keto diet, on any diet, you're generally losing water weight the first couple things. So what you need to stop worrying about is what is that number on the scale and look at more of a long-term trend.
Yeah, and in a past vlog, I suggested switching out that everyday way for take a picture once a day, measure yourself with a tailor's measuring tape once a week.
Right.
Because you will see movement there. And then go ahead and get on the scale once a month. You can see over time, your face will start thinning
Right.
out. Even all through here. Because it doesn't move on the scale as quickly as it moves on your body.
On your size. So now that we've talked about making sure that we're actually in a stall, so let's talk about some of the things that might be causing our stalls.
Yeah.
So the first thing you need to look at, are you lowering your calories?
We don't want to.
We don't want to, but the bottom line is, you see people, and I believe it's horrible, recommendations where they're like, oh, well, on the keto diet, you don't have to worry about calories. You absolutely have to worry about calories. It's easier to worry about calories on the keto diet because you get full.
Yes.
But you have to worry about calories. It still comes down to calories in and calories out.
It's just we've said in the past, to get started on the keto diet, don't worry about
them at the
Worry
first
about
couple
carbs.
weeks because you want to get fat adapted. You want to get used to not eating all the carbohydrates.
But it's like anything. When you start in the gym, you start low, right?
Right.
You start, but then you build. You don't stay lifting the same amount of weight. You continue to increase the weight that you're lifting so you can experience different results. So
Yep.
It's the same thing with your diet. You start out not caring about calories because you're just trying to get fat adapted, but you don't stay that way forever because you want different results.
Right. So you absolutely have to have a calorie deficit, and we suggest having a 15 to 30% deficit off of the amount of calories you're burning.
Yeah.
My other suggestion, or our other suggestion, would be when you go onto the different calculators, we have one on our website to figure out your macros, you have an option to choose what your lifestyle is. Are you sedentary? Are you semi-active? Are you active? Always choose sedentary.
Yeah.
So if you choose sedentary but you have a very active lifestyle, that only means you're going to burn more calories, which
Yeah,
means
it's
you're
not
going to
gonna
see a
hurt
faster
you.
weight loss result. But if you choose that you are a very active person and then you're not an active person,
Yeah.
then you're not going to see results. And that's why, like, even when I'm figuring out my macros, we have our Apple Watches are actually linked to our chronometer. We never count the calories where it says, well, you burned 500 calories. I don't count that.
Yeah.
I eat based on what I'm supposed to eat if I didn't do any of that exercise.
I never understood that, because it's all it is trying to give me permission to be like, oh, I've got an extra 500 calories I can use today.
If you're trying to lose weight, so you burned 1,000 calories more than you consume. That's not
great.
a bad thing.
What happens tomorrow when I'm on the couch all day?
Right.
And I don't. In fact, I burn way less calories than normal.
Right. And one other thing on calories before we move on to the next thing. Unfortunately, as you get smaller, you have to lower your calories. And I remember looking at that and being like, this really stinks. When I weigh 280 pounds, I could eat 3,000 calories a day and still lose weight.
Right.
And now that I'm 180 pounds, I can only eat like 1,900 to 2,000 calories a day. But the bottom line is because you're smaller, your body doesn't need as much energy to be able to continue functioning. So it's not going to burn as much.
And I would suggest adjusting that and like redoing your macro calculator once a month.
Once a month, just go on and redo your calculator based on what your current weight is. The next thing is, what are you eating? So that's a big one. So are you eating good whole foods? Or are you eating processed foods?
It's going to have a major impact, because no matter what the nutritional label says, there's a lot of more hidden carbs in the prepackaged food,
right,
in the processed stuff, than there is in whole foods.
Right. And even in like whole foods, there are hidden carbs. Are you eating 3 avocados a day? You're eating some extra carbs there. Always remember that there is a carb in an egg. Now, it's never going to show up on any of the macro calculators, but there is a carb there. So, you're going to eat that carb in that egg and then maybe go eat another 20, 30 carbohydrates somewhere else.
It starts to add up.
Impact you.
If you're having like 5 or 6 or 7 eggs a day.
Yep. Are you eating too much cheese? Are you eating too many nuts? So all of those things.
I'm nuts for cheese. And I'm cheesy over nuts. But so I'm one of those people that I really have to monitor that. And and if it's something that you really love like that, then that's where you really want to be uber careful about serving size.
The next thing, in as far as what are you eating, check the ingredients, because we talk about this all the time. You are what you eat, but you are what you eats. So are you eating beef that you just got at the grocery store that you don't know where it came from? Because they're all being fed corn and grains. Well, corn and grains is inflammatory. Yeah. So if it's inflaming them, it's going to inflame us as well.
It will. I mean, and you think about that with a mom that's breastfeeding a baby, right? They always say, okay, well, don't eat a bunch of garlic and don't, eat a bunch of stuff that's going to cause gas in the baby when you feed them. Well, it's the same type of thing. Whatever is stored in their fat, you get some of that.
Absolutely. And along with checking your ingredients, you really want to go down and start looking for any of the bad oils, the canola oils, the corn oils, the sunflower oils. All of that stuff is inflammatory. And I know it is expensive, but you really need to start switching over to the good, healthy oils, avocado oils, olive oils, coconut oils. You can even use palm oil so long as it's sustained from the right places. Grass-fed butters, using grass-fed heavy cream. Because again, all of that stuff is inflammatory and it's going to end up leading to a stall.
And this really speaks more to your quality of life versus just weight loss. So you can eat a lot of those things, and not have that higher quality of meat and eggs and dairy and that sort of thing, and experience success as far as weight loss is concerned. But if you're looking at the complete whole health picture and in a keto lifestyle, then you definitely want to start thinking about working out those things.
Right.
that
And I
are
know
bad.
for myself, I always know when I'm a little inflamed, especially because, like, I do have a history of serious arthritis. So as soon as I start having some like joint issues or something, I'm like, ooh, I'm holding on some water somewhere. I'm experiencing some inflammation. And if I track back and say, oh, I didn't have a good day of eating that day, I
Yeah.
ate maybe a little bit too many processed foods, or somehow I got in some bad oils or something like that. And like I said, yes, that stuff is expensive, but here's the thing: you may spend a little bit more money on buying a better quality oil, but you're not going to spend that money going to the doctor or
Yeah,
buying medicines and things like
exactly.
that. So
So
in
you
the
save
end, you will
it.
end up saving money. You just may not be saving it necessarily on your grocery bill,
Yeah.
but you're going to save it somewhere in your life.
And let me tell you, some of the prescriptions for the
Yeah.
arthritis medication that we used to
medication.
purchase.
Oh my! I used to take an arthritis medication. I mean, and it pales in comparison to like diabetes medication. But
Yeah.
my arthritis medication was $200 a month after, like, the insurance.
And
So,
now our arthritis medication bill,
zero. I haven't taken an arthritis pill in 2 years.
that's a significant amount of money.
Yes.
Now we can I would much rather put $200 a month into
Yep.
better food that the whole family can enjoy.
I mean, you're talking about 28 years of taking arthritis medication. So what was that arthritis medication doing to my kidneys, to my liver, and all that? And all of that is out of my system now.
yeah.
So, next thing, if you're in a stall, are you intermittent fasting? That's a big one, because intermittent fasting is going to help you because you're only going to eat in a small eating window, which means the whole rest of the day you're not going to be spiking insulin.
And it's funny, I was listening to a video by Dr. Berry, was talking about how, like, go back to the 1940s and how they used to eat. And there was no such thing as like 6 meals a day where you had like 3 meals and 3 snacks.
Right.
They just didn't do that. That's why, people really would say, like, you don't snack between meals. Like, parents would get on the kids even. Like,
Right.
don't snack, you're going to ruin your appetite, right?
Right.
Well, of course, we know it didn't ruin your appetite. It actually made your appetite more.
Right.
Like, you wanted to eat more every time you
every
spike
time you
that
eat, you're going to
insulin.
want more because the insulin's going to make you want to eat more. So, that's a big one, is intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
So, next one, and this is one that I personally struggle with, is sleep. Like, are you getting enough sleep?
That's probably our biggest problem right now.
Right.
And I'm having to just have a clear-cut bedtime. And I'm starting to feel a lot better. I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, all right, whatever I'm doing, it can end at 9 o'clock. And even if that means that I get up a little bit earlier, I would rather do that, but be able to have like a nice chunk of sleep.
Yeah. I mean, for years, and I mean years, I have functioned on like 4 hours of sleep a night. And lately, it was even worse. Like, where I was going, like, I would sleep one day for 4 hours and then I would not sleep at all the next day. And I was doing that like every other day, where I was only averaging like 3 to 4 nights of sleep a week. And in total, like 12 to 14 hours for those 3 or 4 nights.
And it's great that on the keto diet you have like way more energy. I will say that, like,
Which makes it difficult for me because I would eat late and then I've got all of this energy,
Yeah.
so I can't go to sleep.
Like, you do jump out of bed like ready to go, whereas I was definitely a person that like would hit the snooze button like 800 times in the
when I met
morning.
Rachel, she slept till noon
It
every day.
was terrible. So I mean, you do have more increased energy, but you need to
get to
some
sleep.
sleep.
And that is something that I am working really hard on. And like just in the last week, I mean, I'm not nearly where I should be at like 7 to 8 hours, but I have been getting like at least 4 to 5 hours of good night's sleep every single day.
And it makes a huge difference on the scale. Now,
I have definitely noticed that.
You
but-
don't think that they're connected, but they are.
Yeah, and because the bottom line is you need to sleep, because otherwise you're worrying about the cortisol hormones. And along with sleep is, and this is another one, it's a little bit more difficult to manage, but it's stress. Stress is going
toughie.
to like inhibit your weight loss. So do you have stress in your life? We've started just kind of being like, you know what? We're not going to worry about it. Let it go.
Let it go.
You
Like,
know?
yeah, there's some stuff that it's like, if I can fix it, I will. But some of the stuff that you just know you can't fix,
Right.
like, I don't know, a relationship that you've tried to work on within your family or your friends, and you're like, I've done everything I can do. Instead of just continuing to worry about it, if you can't fix it,
Yeah.
you're going to have to let it go. It's a detriment to your health. If that is the incentive to let some stuff go, let it go.
Yeah, it'll definitely help your weight loss. It'll help just your life in general. Just not worrying about stuff so much.
Yeah.
So a couple of suggestions before we end the video to help you. So some things you can try if you are in the middle of weight loss, a weight loss stall, other than looking at these things that might be causing your stall. So one thing you might want to consider trying, eliminating the dairy out of your life.
And I love
And
cheese.
see if, and again, we're not even saying eliminate it permanently, but some people
Take a
do
break.
have like some different reactions to dairy, and try eliminating dairy and see if it changes. And again, you have hidden carbs in dairy. A lot of the heavy creams say 0 carb, and it's really 1 carb or like a half a carb in a serving. So try eliminating that stuff and see, and for not for a day, I mean for like a week or 2 weeks, and see how does your body react.
I really scaled back after the holidays. During the holidays, I was eating a tremendous amount of cheese because it's delicious. But scaling back the first part of this year has really reduced my bloating. It's helped with some skin issues.
Yep.
It's amazing. And I am not lactose intolerant.
Especially if you're not eating like grass-fed dairy. If you're just going and buying like the cheapest cheese, which we do sometimes,
Yeah.
like when we buy cheese to snack on, we are buying like Kerrygold cheese
Right.
or different types of raw milk cheeses. But if I'm just making a casserole, I'm usually not using that. I mean, I just haven't gotten ourselves to that level yet.
Yeah.
But that stuff again it has hidden potato starch in it and different things like that.
But
So-
I just felt better.
Yeah.
I've just felt better since not making it such a huge part of every recipe.
Another thing to consider to try is dropping. This is going to be a big one for a lot of people. Dropping your keto coffee in the morning.
I'm sorry. Because I love them too. They're delicious.
But it's super easy to turn a nice 4-calorie black coffee into 2, 3, 4, 500 calories.
I'm a magician when it comes to how calorie laden I
Right.
can make a coffee.
So, if you're in the morning, if you're drinking coffee and you need a coffee to get going like this woman does, try drinking a black, or try drinking it like with a little bit of monk fruit extract in it. Or if you're like me and you absolutely have to have like a creamer in it, do like maybe a half a scoop of like the Perfect Keto MCT powder, where that's only 35 calories, but it'll give you a nice creaminess. Or maybe just like a splash, and I mean a splash, like a half a tablespoon or even a teaspoon of heavy cream, just something to take that little bite off. But really what you want to try to do, especially if you are trying to do weight loss and you're trying to lose your weight and you are doing intermittent fasting, you want to really try to not have a keto coffee in the morning. You want your body to go from what you ate last night for dinner until your first meal at 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, if you want a keto coffee, great. Incorporate it
With your meal.
But try to go 14, 16, 18 hours without consuming any extra calories. Like I said, a 4-calorie black coffee is not going to affect you. If you absolutely need something, just do like 20 or 30 calories of something, but don't make this 100, 200, 300, 400 calorie coffee.
It makes it a huge dent.
Yep. So, next thing, again, we talked about it briefly, so I'll just mention again, look at grass-fed meats. Yes, you're going to pay more money, but I was actually shocked. I went into Publix last week. We didn't have any ground beef defrosted. We always have like 40 or 50 pounds in the freezer, but I didn't have one defrosted, so I ran. I'm like, I'll just get a package of ground beef in Publix, and I was shocked to see that regular ground beef, not grass-fed, grass-finished, was $4.99 a pound. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Like, that's ridiculous. I always thought I was paying a lot of extra money for buying grass-fed beef at $6 a pound, but I'm really only paying $1 or $2 more.
And the taste is huge.
The taste is huge. The taste difference is huge. The color is huge. Just the texture, everything about it is completely different.
Well, and I thought it was kind of interesting when you mentioned when you were doing that egg casserole thing, how the pasture-raised eggs has like a different calorie.
Yeah, they have less calories in pasture-raised eggs.
Isn't that funny? So I mean,
they have higher omega-3s, all the vitamins and nutrients.
It makes a difference.
And that's probably the first place I always suggest people like switch over to pasture-raised eggs, and not just free range. That was a mistake that we made. I thought free range was pasture-raised. Free range just means they have access to go to the outside. pasture raised means they're actually raised on the farm, on the pasture. Like they may have a place to go on the inside, like to hide from weather, but they are outside. They're eating the bugs, the worms, and all of that stuff, as opposed to your free range ones, which they have a barn and then they have a little hole that they can go and they can go out on a pasture, but
So it's
they're
kind
not
of like
living on that pasture.
skip the middleman. Like either get the very inexpensive eggs or go
it's
pasture
like,
raised.
The ones cage-free, worthless,
organic,
absolutely worthless.
But
and
they're
you will see, just as soon as you crack it open, you're going to see a difference.
huge difference.
And a difference in the flavor and everything. So 2 more quick things. Electrolytes. If you're not getting the proper electrolytes, if you're not getting all your electrolytes, your body's going to retain water. That's going to increase the scale. Yes, it's only water weight, but it's going to be something that's going to bother you mentally.
It's going to mess with your mind.
It's going to mess with your mind. So if you're not getting your electrolytes, make sure you're getting your electrolytes in. That's what I'm actually drinking right now because I have a game. And so get all your electrolytes in, and you're going to watch that you dump water quickly. And it's funny because Anthony always makes fun of me. Whenever we go to games, I drink a Zip Fizz, and I'm peeing like every half hour. Like every time there's a break, I'm running to the bathroom. He's like, why do you have to go to the bathroom so much? I'm like, because I am drinking my electrolytes, and the body is just dumping all that excess water.
But you know what? That's good, I think, to help, keep a healthy kidney system too.
Mm-hmm.
As we get older, it's more of a concern.
I'm sucking on the ice.
Sorry.
So, last thing. Sorry.
Why don't you finish that, and then we'll come back.
Okay. Okay, last thing. This is probably the most important thing. Track all of your food.
But I want to stay in the dark.
Yeah, but that's what's causing your plateaus. And I know the same thing for me. Anytime I've hit a plateau, or maybe I've felt like my clothes are a little bit tighter, because I've noticed for me, my clothes will get tighter or looser, but the scale doesn't move.
Well, my first response is to say that something happened in the laundry.
Yeah.
But that's not true.
It's not true. But yeah, track all your food. And every time I would go back to tracking, I'm like, ooh, I was eating an extra 300, 400, 500 calories. But when you track,
quick.
It's accountability, and have an accountability partner. And along with tracking your food, and this is a big one for a lot of people, because yes, it's time consuming, and yes, it's inconvenient. Measure your food. Measure it. And like we've said before, if you're using a serving of nuts, if you use something like that,
don't just
eye it. Don't go, oh, well, the package says 14 nuts, and pull a Rachel, was that 14 whole nuts or 14 half nuts? So
if they're broken?
If they're broken, that means I can have 2 for 1, Measure it by weight. Not even when we use peely nuts, which we love peely nuts, I measure, it says 1/4 cup. Well, I can jam a lot more in 1/4 cup than Rachel can.
It's funny when it's the difference in a handful.
Right.
A handful. Sometimes my handful is like this, and sometimes my handful is like...
Right. So measure it by weight. So measure all of your food. When I make recipes, I'll measure out, I'll take a whole casserole. I'll measure that casserole and be like, this is how much it is, and I'll divide it in 8, and then I'll measure out the servings. When we eat ice cream, I measure out each serving. I put the bowl on, and I zero it out, and I'm like, okay, a serving size is 86 grams. That's how much we're eating.
Now, this may all sound super anal, and you're like, I don't need this. But this is for people who, if you're interested in really
if you want to break that plateau, if you want to break that stall, these are things that are going to help you.
Yeah.
So that is our video for today. Hopefully this has helped you guys out a little bit. Do us a favor, hit the like button down below.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the little bell icon. That way, every single time we upload a new video, you'll be alerted to it.
And make sure you check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have all the links down below, as well as on our website, which is twocrazyketos.com.
Till next time, bye.
Bye.